Welcome to the CodeRage session on HTML5 Builder mobile development and deployment. My name is Sarina Dupont and I'm the product manager for HTML5 Builder. Here with me today is also Adrian Chavez, the technical writer. HTML5 Builder allows you to build mobile applications using both server-side and client-side technologies. Now, the client-side part of a mobile application is responsible for the logic that is processed in the standalone version of the application, and that's your deployed application that you would see on your device. For example, you could deploy it to iOS or Android. And it also does not require a working internet connection in order to run on your device. Now, for client mobile applications, you have access to 3 JavaScript libraries. Jquery, which is a powerful and well-known JavaScript library. If you've been creating web applications or websites, you're likely familiar with Jquery. Also Jquery Mobile, which is an extension of Jquery and has controls and features designed specifically for mobile applications. And also Phonegap, which is an application platform that allows you to access mobile device APIs through HTML and JavaScript. Now, besides client-side and also server-side mobile application development, which we'll be showing you today in some technical demos as well, we'll also be talking about mobile application theming. Now, in HTML5 Builder, you get access to 5 default jQuery mobile themes, and you can easily change the color variations of the mobile theme component. So in HTML5 Builder, in order to change the look and feel of your mobile application, you place several controls onto a form, and then you associate those controls with a mobile theme component. If you want to change the overall look of those components, you just switch the theme setting on the mobile theme component. In addition, you also have a visual design interface in HTML5 Builder that allows you to visually design the theme of your mobile application. And it's really easy to do. We provide you with a color palette. You can adjust the saturation, the lightness, etc. And then you drag and drop your colors onto your mobile theme. And it then generates a CSS file that you can associate with that mobile theme component and therefore apply to your mobile UI components that you have in your application. So let's have a look at creating some mobile applications with HTML5 Builder. Now, when we go to new HTML5 Builder projects, we're presented with 4 different application types. In this case, we're going to have a look at client mobile application, which is an application project that is based on client-side web technologies. So here we're presented with our mobile form factor for the iPhone. You can choose from different types of form factors that we've integrated into HTML5 Builder. And also you will see the device skin loaded around your form. And that's designed to give you a better idea of what your mobile application will look like when it's actually deployed to that device. You can also add your own device. If you had a device background, you could load it. You could name this whatever the target device is that you're trying to target. And then you can adjust your screen width and height and also set your designer origin points like you see right here as well. Let me switch back to the iPhone. And let's have a look at some of the components in the tool palette. So we have access to UI components under mobile, and we also have access to hardware components. And that includes being able to access the camera, the accelerometer, geolocation services, etc. So for this example, we're going to place a couple different components onto a form: an edit control, a label, and a button. Edit control, and we're going to place a label and a button. Also going to place a mobile theme onto our form as well. Now here in my mobile theme, I can choose from the different color variations that we talked about. And then all I have to do is associate my mobile theme with the components that I want to style. So in this case, I have an edit control. I'll just go to the theme property and select mobile theme 1. And then also I'm going to go to the button and also select the mobile theme as well. And now I can choose from the default themes, or I can create my own custom theme. If I go back to the Home tab and browse to the Files category under HTML5 Builder Projects, I can see a mobile theme project type. Now once I open it up, it presents me with the theme roller. And now I can visually design my user interface style, and I can just adjust the lightness, or the saturation, and then I can drag and drop these colors onto my controls. And now what I can do is I can go ahead and save this theme. And one of the important things is to save the theme into the same folder that you're going to save your project in. And then I'm going to go to the mobile theme component, and under color variation select custom. Under theme select custom as well. Then custom theme, browse to my themed file. And the custom color variation was a lowercase a. And that is referring to A here, which is our first theme that we designed. While these are referenced with capital letters, in your actual theme you have to reference them in lowercase letters. So here you see that we've applied the custom theme to our controls. Now we're going to change the caption of our button to say hello. Now we want to switch this to BT normal in order to avoid that the web page would be reloaded every time we click on the button. Now, for mobile applications, any response to a user's actions, such as button clicks and text field entries, can be implemented as a response to an event. In this case, for the mButton component, we can create an on-click event. We can either double-click on the button, or we could go in here and select on-click. Now, with the button click, we want to implement a response that shows a message on the label that says hello, and then also shows the name that you've entered into the edit control. So basically, whatever you enter in the edit control, upon clicking on the button, will be shown on your label. Now, jQuery's HTML method lets you define the content of an element, such as mLabel, while the value allows you to retrieve the value of an input field, like an edit control. In JavaScript, the quotation marks that must surround string literals are either single quotes or double quotes. You can also use the plus sign to concatenate strings. And you can see here that as we're typing code, we will see some hints that indicate the kind of members that are supported in a given object, and that is the properties and methods of a JavaScript or jQuery element that is representing the component. Now let's run this. I'm using Chrome in my example. Now let's say we wanted to go ahead and actually deploy this to iOS. We go back to our home screen up here and go to deploy to mobile. So for the mobile platforms that we support iOS, Android, BlackBerry, Symbian, WebOS, and Windows Phone. In my case, I'm going to be showing how to deploy this application to iOS. I'm selecting 5.1. Next. Here I can select the name of my project. And I can also choose my own custom iOS graphics for my application icons, my splash screens, etc. for both Retina and non-Retina displays. I'm just going to create a new folder called Sample App. I'm going to copy this path so I remember it for later on. Select Next, and then it exports the whole project for me. And what that means is it generates all the files that I need. Now if I click Next, I'm presented with this Phonegap build screen, and what that allows me to do is build my application in the cloud. And what that means is that you don't have to install the native SDKs on your machine if you wanted to use the cloud-based Phonegap build service. Instead of now taking the files that were generated and, in my case, moving them over to my Mac and compiling the application in Xcode, you could do this in the cloud. Now, in order to use the Phonegap build service, you'd have to first sign up for an account, and then you could log in with your credentials. Now, let's minimize my screen here. I'm going to go to my folder here. And if you had any type of images that you were using in your mobile application, it's really important that you put them into this www folder. Audio clips, videos, images, etc. that you were using in your mobile application have to be placed into this folder in order for them to show up in your mobile application. A good way to test this would be to open the index.html file, and if you had any images, if they weren't showing up here, you could double check that by placing the images, audio clips, etc. in here, and then reloading your HTML page, your index.html page. And if they're there, then also going to show up in your compiled mobile application. Now I'm going to take my sample app folder over to my Mac. And I'm going to open up that folder on my Mac. And then I'm going to open up my Xcode project and hit run. And this is going to compile this into a .app file, a mobile application for iOS. In this case, I'm deploying it to the simulator, but if you have provisioned your device, you can also deploy this to your phone as well. And also submit it to the App Store. In that case, you have to download Xcode and the SDKs, and also have to sign up for a developer account if you wanted to distribute the application through the App Store. If you're deploying the application to iOS, you also have to download and install Phonegap 1.81. It's a free download. You can go to the Phonegap website and download it and install it on your Mac in order to be able to compile the application in Xcode. Now let me pass the mic to Adrian, and he's going to show you how to create a database-connected mobile application.
Thanks, Sarina. So now we are going to create a server mobile application which we are going to connect to an interface server. We are going to need some controls. Okay, that's to show the records from the database. And we are also going to need some components for retrieving the data. Now select the database, connect it, and we are going to write the whole address here. We are going to use the database file included with the sample applications installed with Write PHP, which we will find here, down here. There it is. Okay, so we copy the path here. Okay. Now the driver name will be interface, and then the username and password. Now we select the table and activate it, connect it to the database, and select the table name. Now we connect the data source to the table and the mlist to the data source. Now in data mapping, we are going to select project name as the caption. And this should be enough to show the records from the database in the web browser. Okay. Now we are going to make these two controls work. We are going to define the onClick event here. Now we'll get the project name from the edit control, and if that project name is not empty, we are going to add it to the database. First, we are going to define the query and then the parameters. Now, for the ID, we are going to use the project name, but we are going to use just the first 5 characters in uppercase. So And now the project name. Okay, we are also going to empty the edit text box. Here we go. Now we write something here and click Add. It will be added to the list. Okay, now we are going to go on, create a different application. This time we are going to use a client mobile application. Now we are going to connect this client application to a local database on the mobile device where our users install it. We are going to use also the same controls. And we are also going to need a couple of controls components from the mobile hardware category. An MDB transaction, and an M-page events. Now the button will have to be of type BT normal, since we are using a client application which runs using JavaScript only. And now we have to fill the MDB component with some data here. It's not really important. The size is in bytes, so we are going to use a bit more, and the DB version is only relevant for database updates, so we are not using it now. Now this MDB transaction component will be used to initialize the database with the empty table, with an empty table to use in case there is no table already for the project list. We are going to connect the transaction to the MDB, and we are going to define an event handler for its own transaction event. This event gets a database object which we are going to use to run some SQL code. Okay, now we are going to use the on-device ready event here to call a JavaScript function defined by the MDB transaction component. The function is called as the component followed by the transaction word. Okay, now we are going to define an event handler for the onVClick event of the button. Here we are going to need some variables. The project name, and the list, and if the project name is not empty, we are going to run a custom transaction, and we are going to use two of its three callback functions. Now we are going to use this function to perform the insert operation, and we are going to use this function to fill the list. The second function is to handle the errors, but we are not going to define that function this time. We use an interrogation mark, which will be replaced by the project name we pass in the second parameter as an array. Now we are going to define the success function. And use it to fill the list. We have to refresh the list. And we are also going to empty the input field and focus it. Okay, now we are going to use the device ready function to fill the list with the items from the local database. So we are going to need the list again. Actually, let me copy. And we are going to use again a custom transaction. Only that this time we are going to use only the first callback function. Now we are going to use the third parameter to pass a callback function that will receive the results from the query. We are going to use a for loop to go through the results. And fill the list. We have to refresh the list after the loop. And this will do. Now we can run the application on an Android emulator. We have to go to deploy to mobile, save the project, go to Android. I'm going to use the defaults here, a different build folder just in case. And we are going to use the SDK libraries so we can build the application locally to run it on the Android emulator. We select the emulator here and click Next. I'm actually running the emulator already to save some time, so the application should pop up here. Oops. Now we should be able to add a new item to the list. And now if we leave the application and open it again, the application should include that new item. Perfect.
So the first question is, what mobile platforms and their versions are supported in HTML5 Builder?
Well, we support Android, iOS, BlackBerry, and Windows Phone as kind of the key mobile platforms. For iOS, is 4.2 or later. Android, Jose, do you know the exact version that we support for Android?
I don't have that information right now, but basically the latest one should work.
Okay, and then Windows Phone, 7 and later, and BlackBerry. The latest version of BlackBerry should work as well. If you look at the on our data sheet on the website, we specify the exact versions also on the doc wiki, and that also applies for the versions of the browsers that we support. Basically, any WebKit-based browser is supported, but we have specific version information on docwiki.embarcadero.com, and you can click on the HTML5 Builder link to see those questions, those responses, or that information, sorry.
Can I deploy my mobile applications from the HTML5 Builder IDE to the Apple iOS store and the Android stores?
Well, you can compile the application in Xcode. So for the iOS example, you get an Xcode project, and then you could go and go through the steps of submitting that application to the App Store, the Apple App Store, just like you can any iOS application. So it's the same. It's fully supported, and the same is also supported for Android as well.
So we generate those projects for you, right?
Yes, we generate the projects, and then you can go through the steps of submitting your project or your application, in that case, to both the Android App Store and also the iOS App Store.
Great. Thank you very much. How do you recommend that I debug my mobile applications for iOS and Android? Debug as server client app first to debug the HTML and JavaScript, and then debug using Xcode and Android tools, or how do you debug your applications?
Jose, what do you recommend in this case?
You can debug your application on the browser you have on your development machine, as the JavaScript should work in the same way. There are embedded tools for example, for client pages. There is an embedded debugger that you can use to debug, or if you want, there are debugger tools for any browser you want to use.
Okay. Is there any mobile hardware devices on the supported platforms that you cannot get to via jQuery mobile wrapped components?
Mobile hardware devices? I don't understand very well the question, but basically on the Phonegap site, you can see all the compatibility of native applications you have. So you know which mobile devices you can target to.
What's the best way to make sure that HTML5 Builder has any updated Phonegap, jQuery, and jQuery mobile libraries and tools? Go get them directly, or wait for HTML5 Builder updates?
Well, you could use the latest version of Phonegap, and you could also update the libraries. However, that hasn't been tested by us in the sense that what we supply, and we just recently released update 1, is that we implement the jQuery mobile components. They're based on a certain version of jQuery mobile libraries, and the same applies for the Phonegap version that we test against. So while you could update the library yourself, we cannot guarantee that there won't be any compatibility issues if it hasn't been officially verified by us. So there was a question in regards to Update 1 and what was included in Update 1. And Update 1 consisted of a number of bug fixes. We actually have a list that we published on, I believe Code Central is the location where we post the updates, right, Anders?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you go to Code Central and you look for HTML5 Builder Update 1, we have a list of the fixes that we've posted. Jose, do you have anything to add in regards to what we worked on for Update 1?
No, I think your answer is okay.
Any questions? Any plans for page control?
So today there are different ways to work with that. We don't really have a page control now. We have controls that fulfill similar functions, like the tab control. But I think there are some tutorials that Adrian has done that show you how to get a similar effect or a similar approach.
All right. Anything you guys want to add?
We're really excited about HTML5 Builder. It's a really great product for creating your own mobile and web applications using web technologies. So if you haven't developed with web technologies yet, or you're a seasoned web developer, I'd highly recommend you have a look at HTML5 Builder. And if you have any questions or feedback, feel free to send me an email at sarina.dupont@embarcadero.com. And I always love to hear from our customers, get feedback on the product, features you'd like to see, etc.
All right, thanks. Thank you, Sarina. Thank you, Jose.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, see you guys online.
Bye.